Welcome, everybody. This is two EdTech guys take questions and share cool stuff. We are happy to be with you. We hope that you think ground squirrels from South Africa might even add that certain extra something to your day. Now, oh, look at that. Rushton helps himself out again. Boom, 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 boom. We are now captioned. And we want to thank you. We want to thank you for putting up with our needing to have a slide. I say our, it's me. My needing to have a slide to remind myself of the captions and this random banter that we engage in every week. Hopefully this brings some kind of smile and minimal groans to your experience. We want to thank the folks at the Krause Center for Innovation, all of the Merit 20 people who might be out there taking this in, getting a few extra PD points in, stuff like that. We want to thank all of the subscribers of Free Tech for Teachers and the 15,000 plus blog posts that have made you a fan of my partner in crime here, Richard Byrne. We are excited to be able to share this stuff with you. So a little bit about what I do. I run a little nonprofit called Next Vista for Learning, loads of videos by and for teachers and students everywhere. And we hope you will give that a look because there's plenty there that can inspire your kids to see new possibilities for how they describe their learning. So later this afternoon, early evening, if you are on the far eastern coast, you might just decide to spend a little time with me and Susan Stewart as we talk about international connection in the activities across grade levels webinar that we do later on Thursday. So we hope you will join us for that. I'll get a link in the chat so we can kind of get you there, that kind of thing. But with that, let's just talk about how this is going to work, because every week Richard and I like to get things started with a few questions, then we share a cool thing, then we handle more questions, then we share another cool stuff, and then more questions. It's a pretty simple format. Richard, you the man, get us going.
All right, let's see. We've got some questions. We got some good questions here. Let's start with this one from April. Just a quick question, but probably an involved answer. There are a lot of animation apps and effects apps and whatnot. Do you happen to have recommendations for the easiest animated video creators to use, especially for the maybe artistically challenged among us, or suggestions on how to incorporate effects apps? I recently purchased FX Guru and I'm having loads of fun adding effects like T-Rex to a video, but I'm less inspired on how to use it in an educational manner. So I thought it was a really good question. It's a thought-provoking question because it's not a one-size-fits-all solution, right? There are easy to use animation tools. I loved Toontastic 3D and it still exists. It just appears to have not been updated in quite a while. That was one of my go-tos for a while. Of course, for the little kids, I still love ChatterPix, and Next Vista for Learning has a fantastic video featuring kindergartners using ChatterPix, the one about how to make a healthy meal, one of my all-time favorites. So, there's lots of apps out there, but the bigger question is really, how do when do you decide to use it? Can you overuse it? Can you underuse it? Can you get beyond just making cool things? So, that's kind of the rub. And I'll say one of my favorite projects I ever did with my kids when I was teaching social studies, back when I taught social studies before my computer science days. We did a mock trial with animation. Did our mock trial in animation. So the kids were learning about the court system, and I had a particular group of students that was, shall we say, more experienced with the court system than other students might have been for their age group.
Experienced. Very nice.
Yes.
Yes.
So we didn't want to, so we did animations of courtroom scenes, and that was a good way to get kids to share their experience a little bit and share their knowledge and recap how the court system works. So maybe something like that. But it's a really good question, and it really involves a lot of thinking. And there's no one size fits all solution to it. What do you think, Rushton? I mean, you've got a whole website about videos.
I do. So, one of the go-tos for a lot of teachers is Powtoons. Powtoons is a perfectly good tool. In in essence, it's such a go-to that a lot of people have seen it. And so it might be kind of too familiar to the students to be noteworthy in a sense. I do think Adobe Spark and using just the icons in it is not a bad way to go, because those particular kinds of videos are very easy to create, and you know, they look good. So that's a thing there as well. I would also emphasize that when you think about animation, one of the coolest things you can do in animation is stop motion, right? And if kids are kind of getting into that thing of like, take a picture, move it, take a picture, move it, take a picture, move it, they can end up with some pretty cool pieces that way. So there's a lot of different ways to think about animation. I think you just tossed a really good tool in the chat. Talk a little bit about Common Craft.
So Common Craft, I think probably a lot of folks are familiar with it, but if you're not, Common Craft really pioneered this idea of using just simple paper cutouts on a whiteboard like this. Like, literally, their first big hit was done on a whiteboard with paper cutouts and their hands moving the cutouts around on the screen, and that, you know, that got to the heart of animation, in that it's really about storytelling. And that it's not so much the special effects, it's the storytelling that makes the biggest impact on it. Now, they've since moved on to just using PowerPoint and the clip art in PowerPoint with transitions and animations, but the essence of it is in the storytelling. So check out commoncraft.com for some ideas. There's even, I think on their homepage right now, they even have a video about like how to use Common Craft in your classroom. Yeah, how Common Craft videos help educators, explained in 2 minutes, is on their homepage right now. I used one of their videos today in one of my computer science classes to explain intellectual property. Very complex topic, boiled down into 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. So
I will add to the chat, given that it's October, that there is Zombies in Plain English from Common Craft, which I think is a pretty funny video. So if you're kind of like, you know, I just haven't had a zombie video in way too long, since last week, whatever it might be, then there you go. The Common Craft version of Zombies in Plain English might be exactly what you needed. All right, so let's get another one in. Richard, what's that?
Next one came from Rebecca, who said, thank you for offering to answer questions. I work with K-12 language teachers. Currently, our biggest challenge is finding a way to have students engage in a dialogue. We used to provide guidelines and then observe or record their interactions in class. Without the face-to-face, we are looking for other options that are still considered safe and legal. Any ideas would be appreciated. Rushton suggested Zoom, as did I. Rebecca wrote back to me and said they're not allowed to use Zoom in their school district. So that was a bit of a
well. Let's see. Let's look at that. Let's look at that carefully for a moment, right? Because if what you want are two people to talk to each other and record it, right? Maybe they're not allowed to use Zoom as a part of their instruction. That doesn't mean that may not mean that kids aren't allowed to use Zoom as a way of recording themselves doing a dialogue. So that's an option. There's also Jitsi, Jitsi. I'll take you guys to just so you can kind of see what this is. It's worth noting that for any given kind of tool out there, there are often like these open source versions of these things. So if your school district is locked in this huge thing of like no Zoom, no Meet, no Teams, whatever, right? First of all, I don't know that that's a productive place to be, but Jitsi is an open source version of the video conferencing kind of space, and a perfectly good one. I've used it and think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I also suggested Flipgrid, suggested doing a screen recording or a recording of a Microsoft Teams. And I actually had 7 messages back and forth with Rebecca, and it really came down to that the school is really, really, really concerned about people seeing the videos of kids in them.
I see.
That's the big thing.
That's a different issue, right? And
they don't want.
Yeah.
To which I replied, well, you can use like the unlisted or the private setting in YouTube for recording. If you subscribe to Vimeo, which I do, I pay for a Vimeo subscription, costs $7 a month. And you have a lot more controls. You can password protect the videos. You can do things like say that the video can only be shown on specific URLs, which is a feature that I use for some of my courses that I offer. The video only shows up on a specific URL, practicaledtech.com. So you can do things like that. You know, if you're in that kind of situation where the school is saying, really, we don't want to use any of these public facing things, you know, it might be time to pony up the $7 to $10 a month for that greater, that greater level of security. And by the way, depending on your school and your state and where you are, there's another round of COVID-19 relief money or funding that came into a lot of schools in the last week or week and a half. And you got to use it soon. You got to use it or lose it pretty soon. That's one of those things where you can say, well, prior to COVID-19, I didn't need this service, but now I do. Maybe I can use my money to pay for that. For example, I just bought a whole bunch of new toolkits for my school, for my computer science classes, because previously we shared some of the specialized tools. Now we need to have every kid have his or her own that's assigned to them, that they're responsible for sanitizing and yada, yada, yada. We paid for that out of COVID-19 money.
Good extra tip going on there. I would encourage you to maybe have a discussion with your people about overkill in terms of not having videos online. There is so much educational value that comes from students seeing their work in the context of a larger audience that there are concerns. That's real. But on the other hand, you can kind of bubble wrap these kids to the point where they're learning at half the speed of everybody else, and that's kind of worth knowing out there. I would say that schools that are able to kind of take those questions and deal with them effectively are doing something very cool for their education. And to say cool brings us to a cool share. What a segue, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so Richard, talk to us about what we're seeing on this slide right here. What we got?
So what you're looking at right there is the recording studio that's in Canva, C-A-N-V-A, Canva. Let me screen share this because this one is super cool. And I am almost embarrassed to admit that I only discovered it last week. I don't know how long this feature had been hidden in there or not, but yeah, it's a really cool tool. So let me screen share it, and I think everyone's gonna love it. I love it, so you're gonna love it. You're gonna have to love it. That's the way it goes.
Sure, I love it.
So let me screen share it. Everything is on my screen right now. You can all see it here. So here it is. I have this slideshow that I made in Canva, okay, about structuring online instruction, a real presentation that I've actually given many times. Up here in the upper right-hand corner, there's a feature called Present and Record. Watch what it does. All right, I'm going to delete that recording and create a new one. Okay, so it goes to my recording studio. In my recording studio, oh, I can't do it because I'm already using my camera, my microphone. Let me turn off my other camera. Hold on. Watch this. All right. Now it'll do it, hopefully. Yeah, so there it is. Watch. Start recording. Puts my head over here on the left-hand side. It's recording my screen. It records as I go through the slides. Now, if I had speaker notes, they'd be up here in the upper right-hand corner. So I could be reading off of my speaker notes in here. And it's recording. It only records what's in the red here. Very, very cool, right? So it has my face. I could be reading off of my speaker notes, but it only records my slides and my head. And then I can end the recording. It ends the recording, and it gives me a link to share just that recording. Very cool little feature, I think. So let me start my video again. That's built into Canva. See, there it is. Boop, there's a link. Anyone can go and watch it now if I give them the link. So really cool. I'm super happy with it because it just shows the slide in my disembodied head. It doesn't show any of my speaker notes. I don't have to toggle between anything. It's great. Great little tool. If you want to make a quick little video lesson, I think that's a good option. You know, you've already got your slides. That's so cool. So
that is very cool. Now, talk to us a little bit about Canva and pricing, because I know for a lot of people trying to figure out pricing, like exactly what's free in Canva and what's not, is a little bit of work. Can you explain that?
So sign up for Canva's education version, which is free and includes all of the pro features that you would otherwise have to pay $14 a month for, $14.95 a month for. So really cool. So Judith said, is this similar to using Screencastify with slides? Yes, it is, but you can record for more than 5 minutes. It doesn't have any editing features. So if you make a mistake, it's go back and try it again. So it doesn't have that, doesn't have any integration with Google Drive or anything like that, like Screencastify does. But I like it because I don't have any of that clunky, I'm clicking from this slide to that slide, you know, going in Screencastify, I'd be going to make my slides full screen, then not full screen, then, you know, all that. So, Kathy, I haven't tested the time limit to go beyond 5 minutes yet. I just kind of let it run in the background and I'm like, oh, see what happens. Yeah. So
Judith also asked if this is free in Canada. Would you happen to know?
I don't know if it's free in Canada. It's free in Australia. I can tell you that.
Well, that increases the chances. Judith, what we want you to do is go to canva.com and sign up for that educator account and let us know. You might even do that by the end of the episode. That would be cool.
Yeah, we have a link to it in the slides. We have a link to the Canva education in the slides. And I'll put those there. I'll put it in there as well.
Boom, canva.com. All right. So you
education.
So is it canvaeducation.com or?
I got it.
You got it? Canva.com.
Canva.com/education.
Excellent. I think what we will do is quickly
goes that way.
that adjustment in our links page. If you didn't know, I put together a links page every week where we, you know, all of the different things we talk about, or at least everything I can remember, we toss into that bad boy right there, and you can always come back and see it. Wow, that's so nice of you guys. Where would I find such a treasure? You would find it on the nextvista.org webinars page, which I will make sure you get before we finish. And so if you go to nextvista.org, you'll see kind of webinars mentioned on the right. Click over on anything close, you know, over there, and you'll probably be just fine.
I got it in there.
Let's get another question. All right, Richard.
All right, another question. Good. Here's one we have a clear-cut answer to from Cheryl. Good morning. Just to let you know, I'm so glad to have taken your class this summer. Thank you, Cheryl. Referring to the class you took with me this summer. I have just watched your instructions for a form limiter, but didn't say anything for shutting off the form at a given time or after a certain amount of time. I'd like to give students half hour to fill out a quiz. What's the best way to do this? All right. So form limiter, awesome add-on for Google Forms, lets you set a specific date and time to end access to a form. Okay. What I do is I combine that with Google Classroom so that my form only appears in Google Classroom at a scheduled time, let's say 9 a.m. Okay. So maybe I wrote it out 3 weeks ago, but it's going to be 9 a.m. on October 9th that my form will actually appear in Google Classroom. Then I have the form limiter set so that at 9:30 a.m. it stops accepting responses. And I also set in Google Classroom that the due date is October 9th at 9:30 a.m. So that way, students have to finish it by 9:30 a.m. in order to be able to submit it to me.
Very good stuff. I will add a question from the chat. Kathy asked in the chat, she said, Totally want to hang out with you guys every week. Kathy, you're awesome. All right. This is such a fun format, and you're both so high energy and full of awesome. I like the way you use the language. That's good. Is there some way I can be automatically reminded? So funny you should ask. I have been contacted recently about that very thing, and I am going to put together a reminder email that I aspire to send out each Monday or Tuesday, just reminding people when this is coming up. So absolutely, Kathy. When you get my email later today, because every time someone registers for this, even if they don't show, I like send them a note saying, thanks for registering. And here are the slides and the links and the recording. So when you get that from me, just write back and say, put me on that reminder list, and Kathy will get you on it for sure. That's awesome. All right, let's see. Where are we at now? We're 1:22, 4:22 your time. Let's get another quick share in here. So everybody, now I am hoping that you're looking at that image on the screen and thinking to yourself, that's an intriguing image. Well, it's an intriguing organization, right? So the organization is Skatistan. And the whole idea, and they started in Afghanistan. And the whole idea is to give kids and girls, notably, the chance to learn to skateboard. And so there are these kind of really interesting programs that they've built around the idea of boys and girls can skateboard, because there are certain kind of pieces within the culture that says, oh, girls shouldn't do that, but this is kind of more of a toy, so it's okay. So goes the thinking. And when you watch the video that is the initial link here, Land of Skate, first of all, you're going to be struck by just how beautiful this video is. It is a very well edited piece. It's a 13.5-minute mini documentary about this organization, Skatistan, right? And they have just got some very cool things going on. And I hope that you will watch it, see what they've done in 2 places in Afghanistan, in Greater Johannesburg in South Africa, and also in Cambodia. So, you see these kids who've become, kind of real confident kids believing in a future as a function of skateboarding. And so this is one of those many videos that you get to the end of, and you're like, who can I share this with? Because it is a wonderful, wonderful story. And I hope you'll be like, yeah, that's awesome, and share it with somebody yourself.
Very cool. And we'd show the video, but we'll get flagged for a copyright violation again.
How well we have learned that happens, right? And those of you who might have missed last week, right? If some weeks back, I showed I mentioned this really, really cool video. I clicked over and let the first few moments of it play while I explained the educational value, honestly, right, of the things we were talking about. And I pulled back, and Richard says, well, hopefully we won't get flagged for copyright violation. And then I got this note saying, don't worry, your video is no longer being flagged for copyright. And I'm like, wait, why didn't you send me a note saying it was? Anyway, so it was one of those things where we learn as we go. And let's just say that while I'm not going to play this video for you, I am very happy to be sharing the link, because very cool crowd these folks are. Richard, keep us going.
All right. So since you had just mentioned emails, there was a question from Kim that I'd forgotten about. I just put back in. Hope you are well in Maine. Quick question. What program do you use to send out your personalized email tips? I use a program called ConvertKit. ConvertKit.com lets you does a lot of cool things, but one of the coolest things is it lets you send out emails that are personalized to every person who's on your email list. Meaning, so it says, hi, Rushton, or hi, Kathy, or hi, Kim, or hello, Kim, or good day, Rushton, or whatever I want to say at the beginning when it sends out the emails, so that I don't have to manually personalize it every single time. It will do that based on what people put in as their name when they sign up. So if they sign up as Cookie Monster, it will say, hey, Cookie Monster, here's your tip of the day, sort of thing. So I use that. It's ConvertKit.com is what I use. You have up to 1,000 people on your mailing list for free, which is pretty generous. Most of the other ones are like 500. And it does a lot of other cool stuff from the back end of, like, I can see who hasn't opened my emails in the last week or the last 2 weeks or the last month and other stuff like that. But that's what I use, ConvertKit.com. So
So I have a confession to make.
Yeah,
I do it manually.
you do.
I believe it or not.
For
So,
everyone that's on your mailing list?
oh heavens, no. So well, there's the
Oh, okay.
mailing list,
Right.
and then there's the stuff that goes to the people who sign up for the webinars. And for the webinars, I actually like. Here's my thinking with this, right? Because for my mailing list, because it's a mailing list and because it's a system, there are systems out there that kind of figure out that that's the case, and then automatically shunts it into, like spam mail or whatever. And so people are like, yeah, I signed up, but I never got an email. And I'm like, I did #email. And so, so, there's a certain amount of like, okay, I use that system for what it does, and fine. And if you get it, I'm excited because a lot of people don't. But with the webinars, I figure, I think what I will do is just use canned responses in Gmail. And I fashion the one that's kind of specific to whatever we just did. And then I just kind of, I pull down the info from Zoom, from the webinar, and and I'll kind of set those things up and pull them on over time and just manually add your name in, because I figure that's kind of cool. And that means also that it's just kind of less likely to flag something. And so, if we ever get so big that that's just like not an option, then I'll come back to Richard and I'll be like, what was that ConvertKit thing again? But yeah, at the moment, I just do it manually.
Warning, don't do that for more than 200 people or Gmail will flag you as spamming.
If you do those 200 within 1 hour, right? I mean, I think.
Right. If you do it within a really small, if you send the same message to 200 people out of your Gmail within a very small window, it'll flag it as spam.
Well, that's one of the reasons I make sure to add their names in, right? Because that means that it's not exactly the same email. So I don't know. So those of you who are like wanting to see behind the curtain, there you go. There you go.
There we go. All right, let's get back on track.
Do we have another question?
Yeah, one more. We got time for another one here. Deb White asked, looking for history of maps, cartography videos for middle school students, what's your go-to resource? Mine is the USGS, believe it or not. The U.S. Geological Survey has a great collection of stuff for middle school and high school lessons around cartography and geography. So go there, usgs.gov, and spend some time in the education section. Lots of great multimedia stuff, not just videos, but like multimedia interactives that show kids how tectonic plates shift and stuff like that. That's my go-to place.
Okay, and do you go to science topic centers, missions? Oh, there you go. Yeah, loads of stuff. I'm looking for something that's like, oh, education. Boom.
Yep.
All right, so I'm gonna get this link in the chat right there, so you guys can get to that. In thinking about this, by the way, there's a number of different ways. There's kind of this very literal interpretation of the question. But I would also say that you might think in terms of, well, what about videos that are about different places but are photographically interesting in some way? So, and I have a favorite for that, and that is AirPano. All right, and if you have never taken a look at airpano.com, I would encourage you to do so. They have 360-degree photos, 360-degree videos. And there's just some very, very cool stuff. You're like, how cool is it? Well, actually, how about I just show you? So here is AirPano. And like, for me, the cool thing to do is go to 360 photo. What it does is it takes you and it says, okay, well, here are all these different places. One of my favorite, these take a bit to come up because it's kind of intense. But one of my favorite places is this place in China I'd never heard of, Fenghuang, right? And so you click there, and they give you like all of these different kind of spots along the way. Let's get rid of that right there. And when it pops up, you've got kind of the option to say, okay, well, where in this particular place, this city, it's actually starts some music as well, which I'm going to turn off. Kind of fun, but still, right? And then you can kind of move it around. You can do this. You can go to the different kind of options down here. and say, okay, well, I want to see the Rainbow Bridge at night, and just like, oh, okay, wow, this is a place I would like to go hang, right? I can imagine like getting a meal and sitting at one of these restaurants looking out over, kind of all of these lights in the city, which I think is pretty darn cool. So Air Pano is a place I would encourage you to take a look at as you consider options for getting kids interested in geography. Much more than, of course, maps would geography be. Do you use Air Pano at all, Richard?
I have. I've played around with it in the past. I also love to just, lucky dip through Street View. It's kind of my, just love to go like, what happens when I do this? When I go to wherever in Street View, and just kind of lucky dip around. And also, people always forget about Bing. Bing Maps actually has some cool imagery in it, and it's different than Google Maps imagery, right? Because Bing Maps has their own cars, their own cameras, their own stuff happening. So do some different side-by-side perspectives, if you will. In fact, there used to be a tool that did a comparison of the two side by side. It's no longer supported, but it was a really cool website that did side by side of the two, and so cool stuff like that. Don't forget about Bing.
I think
don't forget about terrain. Don't forget about Bing.
Right. One of the underused things for teachers is to take two different tools that do the same thing and have kids work with both, and then come back and talk about it. Like what kinds of things you're seeing. I talk about this all the time with Kahoot and quizzes, right? So, how do you see them as different? How do you see them as similar? Blah, blah, blah. We certainly hope that in bringing cool ideas to your students, you are taking care of yourself along the way. This is encouragement that we toss your way every week. In order to get through to these kids, we need to kind of be at our best a whole lot of the time, right? And for that, get enough sleep, get some exercise, get away from the screen from time to time. But if you need to binge watch our recordings, you can certainly do that over the weekend. That's just fine. If you sign up for the newsletter, or if you go to the newsletter sign up page and simply say, hey, I'm already on the newsletter, but I'd like to win a Starbucks card, guys. Boom, in the link right now, nextfest.org/newsletter, sign up. Feel free to toss your name in there, and in the comment section, if you're already on the list, just say, already on the list, just hope to win caffeine, totally fine. And you are welcome to do that. Richard, I may have mentioned this last week. The videos section of my monthly newsletter, this may be like the best set of videos I've ever shared. One of them is the Skatistan video, but there is so many other ones that I'm just like, those are fantastic videos that I happened across during September and pulled together for the October newsletter. So give that a look, faux show. So with that, I hope you will take a look at my blog, rushton.com, and just take a look at the thoughts I share on occasion at Inspiring Improvement. I've written some books. If you're interested in these, stay in touch with me as well. Happy to help you and your colleagues do book studies if that's a thing you're into. And then you might also take a really good look at the 64 page, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, you got it.
Awesome. Talk to us about this wonderful EdTech handbook that you've made available to folks for free.
Yeah, so my 64 page practical EdTech handbook grows every year with new tools and favorite tools that are fun to use and engaging for kids, and has all kinds of neat little tutorials in it about how to make videos, how to make games for kids. And this year I included some thoughts on making your online resources and your virtual classes more accessible. But one of the things that I've written, shameless commerce division of my life, I sent out my newsletter, which you can sign up for right there. I sent out my newsletter on Monday this week because, toddler life, and I got a little bit behind. I usually send it out Sunday night, but I sent it out on Monday. And I wrote about 3 ways to add some educational fun to your virtual and hybrid classes. And I actually because I'm trying to do this myself, and it was fun. So that's what I wrote about. And I would like you to check it out and see what you think as well. And Kathy asked, how did we meet, Rushton and I? Ah,
I
so
believe that takes us
back in the days before Tinder, there were these things called the personal ads. And I was looking for someone who loved educational technology. No.
bad man. So I believe that this happened in DC.
Google
Right?
Teacher Academy in
The Google
DC.
Teacher Academy in DC, and we were. He was one of the participants. I was one of the instructors. I'd been in the original one. Check me out in Mountain View back in 2006, which they accidentally scheduled on an election day. And once they figured out what they'd done, they wrote us all who were going to participate. And we're like, oh my God, go get an absentee ballot. We don't want you to like not vote. That was like, but anyway, so we met via that group of people. And just have remained friends since. Like, so we go to some of the same conferences and we hang out and we laugh at the same jokes, and as you can tell, and so there you go. That's how we met. And so we'll call that the last question for today. Awesome. But before we finish, there's a little bit more about Richard you should know, such as.
Oh, such as my YouTube channel just passed 30,000 subscribers over the week.
Congratulations. That's very cool.
Hey, thanks. 30,000 people are watching my screencast videos, which I make mostly with Screencast-O-Matic, by the way. Everyone always asks me that. You can find me on Twitter. I've been tweeting there since 2007, and you can email me, richard@burn.media. Yes, it is a valid email address, despite what HomeDepot.com thinks.
There you have it. So next week, we will come back to you again with more cool ideas that we're happy to share. Send your questions, right? You can send them to the addresses we put out there, nextvista.org/contact. We'll get you there as well. But just let us know what your questions are. We will find some kind of answer for you. And any questions we didn't get to this today, we might try to handle just right after we finish here. But it is a pleasure to have you with us. So by all means, finish your week strong. Go inspire some kids tomorrow when you see them in class, and then get a little re-energizing going over the weekend. Catch a bit of a walk. And the beauty of the flowers and the sky and whatever it may take. But we are very happy every week to spend a little bit of our time with you, and we thank you for spending a little bit of your time with us. So with that, we'll stop the recording, and we'll see you next week.